Hello, and welcome to Odds on Premier League Match Day 29. We still have this battle for the title with Arsenal winning the aerial battle with Chelsea, although I'm not sure, Tom, if it's the right timing to talk about aerial battle in this moment in time. But indeed, it was a boring game, I would say. Again, set pieces. You expected something else?
No. I think our bet went exactly as we suggested, right? We said there might be a red card. I think we said it was going to be won by exactly one goal, which is a pretty decent Arsenal bet at the moment. And the other thing I bet on is that I'm not watching Arsenal games live anymore. I'm just not doing it. I'm refusing from this point. Unless I'm getting paid directly to watch it, just have a bet on them winning by one goal and them having 10 corners. And we'll just find out on like a spreadsheet what happens in the end, because... yeah, I was just thinking, Edu, I know we're at the very start and I'm wibbling now, but like I was just thinking how great those games were 5 or 6 years ago between Liverpool and Man City at the top of the table, where it was genuinely jaw-droppingly enthralling football. And now all it is the Royal Rumble in the penalty area at every corner. I just feel like we've got to stop this somehow.
We enjoyed much more De Bruyne, Silva, Salah, and these likes that made our life much more entertaining. But this is the new football, and perhaps you can win the Premier League, and they have also the right path in the Champions League to reach the final. So let's see how this ends. In the meantime, we have a lot of games, midweek games in the Premier League 10, so stay tuned. Let's see what Tom Rennie has to tell us. Don't forget to let us know also the tips. And now let's go on with the show. And we start on Tuesday, of course. Today we have 4 games. Bournemouth, Brentford is the first one. I think both should be very happy with their season. We had many doubts at the beginning of the season with so many players leaving, with Brentford also changing the manager. But look, now Brentford are only 2 points away from Chelsea after perhaps the best game of the season. We wouldn't expect it to find it in Turf Moor. But it was a crazy game, a classic Premier League game, Tom. I'm sure you enjoyed it. 3-4 for Brentford, and Bournemouth draw with Sunderland, with West Ham. Perhaps also this one could be a draw indeed.
Well, obviously it screams draw, and that will be the top tip for this bet. But I mean, let's start with Bournemouth, because a few weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, somewhere in there, we were concerned about their Premier League future, weren't we? They were really struggling. We knew Semenyo was going. If Semenyo hadn't scored that late goal against Tottenham at the Vitality just before going to Man City, would we be in a different world now? Maybe. Goals change games and wins change everything. But from that point, they've not really looked back. And there's been some really impressive, underrated defensive performances this season for Bournemouth. People like James Hill and Marcos Senesi, maybe they'll do the job at Real Madrid next year and Dean Howson comes back. Who knows? But certainly defenders that maybe in the future, I know that was just for you. I feel like people at Bournemouth, they're a little bit like, there's a few teams like this. Maybe Bodo Glimt, we spoke about them in the Champions League, are similar. There are just certain players that work at certain clubs with certain managers. And I hope Andoni Iraola stays at Bournemouth for many, many years, because they are so created in his image, and maybe certain players just need him and his setup to thrive. Maybe we're seeing that with Houghton. We're certainly seeing it with Hill at centre half this season, who we didn't expect a great deal of. I think in midfield, Scott returning has made a massive difference as well. I thought Tavernier was phenomenal in the game against Sunderland and has been pretty good across the season. And Ryan, of course, coming in has been incredibly dangerous, considering he's replacing Semenyo. So loads of positives there, but they're not winning many. They've got really solid and tough to beat in a season where being tough to beat is the most crucial element. 12 draws in 28 games tells you that. 3 draws in their last 3 Premier League games, and then the win over Bournemouth, over Everton in the Cup. So, look, I think they'll be solid. They'll be tough to beat, and I don't expect many goals in this game. In terms of Brentford, it's sort of what we expected against Burnley as well. But, again, goals change games. That ends up with a 4-3 victory. Probably should have been a 5-4 loss. Certainly a 4-4 draw, because every time I see that replay, it looks like it hits Ashley Barnes' big fat belly and gets nowhere near his arm. But there you go. They decided that was conclusive. I'm not sure it was. But a great win for Brentford. And they just went hell for leather on the attack. The 𝐿𝐭𝐴 long throw. Strikes again. 𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐵 in behind. Strikes again. The return of Henderson. The ball over the top. Strikes again. I've been saying this since September. And they sort of changed it a bit with dropping Henderson for a while. But in general, the 2 or 3 attacking assets of Brentford have worked consistently and effectively throughout the season. Home form has obviously been really, really good across the campaign, as we expect from Brentford. Away from home was the big concern earlier in the season. They've since turned that around and got 6 victories. No draws this season away from home, which does make me doubt it a little bit. But I still feel like on a Bournemouth game, you should go for a draw. So top tip there would be Bournemouth to draw. If you're looking for a winner, if Bournemouth win it, I think it'll be tight. You're looking by exactly 1 goal, similar to 2-1 against Everton, similar to 1-1 draws and 0-0s. Things will be tight. If Brentford win it, I think there'll be plenty of goals, a la the Burnley game. So if you pick a winner, there is a style of victory. 1, tight and taut. 2, loads of goals. Brentford, both teams to score 4.33, and both teams have a danger man worth betting on at odds nearly double your money for any time goal scorer. Ryan is 2.88, and 𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐵 is 2.20. Pick your scorer, pick your winner, you'll make some money.
All right, Brentford double chance for David and for Rafiki. Great season for both clubs, especially, of course, Brentford. Next one is Everton. Burnley. It's always impossible to bet on Everton, and I told you last week that they could win at St. James's Park, and they did it. We saw also the save of the season with Jordan Pickford. Oh my God, what a save. And the last home game was a defeat against Man United. Of course, the bookies expect them to beat Burnley, although Burnley have been more competitive in the last weeks. Tom, if Everton can do the Everton things, they could draw points here.
Everton, to your point, are so tough to bet on because they go on a losing run. And just when you think, oh, maybe they're under pressure here, maybe the season can go off the rails, they pick up a victory. David Moyes and his team are masters at getting a victory when it's absolutely necessary. And it's why they find themselves as a potential pick for European qualification next season. It's why they find themselves comfortably in the top half when it's not a great squad. I've got to say, beyond Dewsbury Hall and Jordan Pickford, there's not a great deal of real top-level quality. I'd probably put 𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐵 in there, to be fair. But there's a lot of players who I'd expect to be in a relegation battle for most of their careers in the Premier League, and they're just so far away from it. And they're already at the 40-point mark with the final quarter of the season to go. So really impressive there. And in terms of Burnley, like, I take your point, but they've actually been competitive all the way through. The trouble is they haven't got the quality. That is the trouble with Burnley. They are a well-coached, well-drilled, well-organised team with players who believe in their manager and do their jobs and are very functional. The trouble is, when they get relegated this summer, none of them will be in the Premier League next season. And that is the trouble. Maybe Fleming on a decent goal-scoring run might attract a bit of interest from whomever comes up. Maybe he goes back to Millwall if they come up. 7 Premier League goals is a pretty decent return. Maybe you have a look at someone like Jaden Anthony or Marcus Edwards or 1 or 2 others. But in general, it's just not a Premier League squad, and that will catch you out in the end. And it has caught Burnley out. And look, I don't discount a Burnley win here at 6.5, so they may well be able to pull off another incredible comeback as they did against Palace, nearly did against Brentford. But all the indicators here are that Everton win at 1.62. A very uninspired victory for Everton. I think it'll be quite close. Everton and under 2.5 goals in this match is what I would tip at the top at double your money. And then, you know, I love a group bet. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. Bring that together. That's a pretty decent bet. I think it'll be a fairly standard Everton win.
Worst game of the season. This one, indeed, I wouldn't tune it. Everton, very unpredictable. Everton to win and both teams to score. Next one in Elland Road, Leeds, Sunderland. Both, remember, newly promoted teams and doing also a great season. Leeds is still 6 points away from West Ham, so I think they are looking at this game as a must win after losing to Man City. We said it was not going to be easy for the citizens. Drew with Aston Villa, with Chelsea, plenty of draws, and Sunderland, another draw against Bournemouth after 3 consecutive defeats. This one also, Tom, I guess we should look at the draw market here.
Yes, I mean, every Leeds game, you should look at the draw market, right? They are the draw specialists of the Premier League this season. The reason they're not in relegation trouble is because they've been able to draw and draw and draw again in games that previously they were losing, but they've struggled to get over the line. 10 draws will tell you that. Home form's okay for Leeds as well. I think reports of their brilliance at home somewhat exaggerated in that they've lost 4, drawn 4, and won 6. Still a good record. I'm not slagging off the record here, but they are beatable at home, which is... maybe why they are so conservative in games. And when they try and be a bit more open, they often get punished. But it's all in all a really good run of form for Leeds. In every single game, they are more than competitive. I'd be looking here at a similar sort of story to the Nottingham Forest game a few weeks ago on the Friday, where they won by 3-1. They give everybody a game. They're defensively pretty sound. They do tend to concede 1 goal in every game, at least. But the good news for them is they tend to score 1 goal in every game as well. If they can get a second, they tend to go on to win. And I wouldn't discount a late goal victory here for Leeds as well. But lots of players performing fantastically well. Anton Stark, 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀, we know. Brendan Aronson been fantastic. Joe Rodon's been really good, though I think he might have a hamstring injury for this one. Look, they're going to be well up for it. Daniel Farke suspended because of the red card against City, but they're going to be super up for it, really aggressive, pretty defensive, and I expect them to win this game. And in terms of Sunderland, the first half of the season, Sunderland is not the second half of the season, Sunderland. And that was always going to be the case, which is why that first half of the season was so spectacular, because they should, by rights, be in a relegation battle right now. It's not a great squad, the Sunderland squad. I know that goes against the grain of popular opinion. They've had a lot of players that have really excelled. They had the best 6 months of their careers. And now you're going to ask them to maybe do it again next season. Like, I hope they can. But for my money, a lot of these guys will see a big drop-off. And so this summer, going to be really important for Sunderland to replenish in 3 or 4 areas. Centre-half to replace 𝐜𝐿𝐷𝗿𝗍, I think, who's been overperforming his abilities. Midfield, 𝗛𝗏𝗀 next season, I think, going to be 35. That could be a problem. Mayenda, Isidore, the other strikers, 𝗵𝗏𝗏 have done fine. I think 𝗵𝗏𝗏's probably out for this one. But no one's got double figures. 𝗵𝗏𝗏 top scorer on 5. That will need to be improved. But look, what a great position to be in for Sunderland when, again, I think they would be in a relegation scrap with Forest, Leeds and West Ham, and they simply are not. But look, great time to play Sunderland, not playing well, lots of injuries, and 𝗵𝗏𝗀 not the player he was earlier in the season. Take the Leeds win at 1.95. A tight Leeds win. When they win tight by exactly 1 goal, 3.5, which surprised me. I think that's a really good odds, actually. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 together comes in at 3.5. And then a couple of scorelines, mainly because the scorelines are quite good. And one of these is going to come in. A 1-1 draw is 6.5. A 1-0 home win is 6.5. And a 2-1 home victory, as we saw 4 of on Sunday, is 8. It's going to be tight. No thrashings here, and I think Leeds shade it.
Okay, I like the 1-1 draw, actually. 𝗏𝗏𝗿𝗏 going for Leeds to win and both teams to score to 1-3-1. Or for 1, our smart bet tool is going for goals. In this one, plenty of goals, actually 3.66. The odds for over 3.5 goals. I think that's a lot, very bold. That's why the odds are so high. And then we have Wolves Liverpool. Must win for Liverpool, of course, if you are traveling to the Molineux Stadium. 5-2 to West Ham after beating Sunderland and Forest. But these games were really uninspiring. They were very lucky to get the wins. By the way, these teams are going to play back-to-back games. They are going to meet also at the weekend in the FA Cup. Be careful here with Liverpool, Tom, playing against Wolves. Remember, beating Aston Villa, drew with Arsenal in the last 2 home games. This Liverpool that is still is not convincing us.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? The way the West Ham game went at the weekend was pretty much how we suggested it might. The only weird thing was it finished 5-2. West Ham created chances, did get in behind a few times. But Liverpool scored 3 corners and got basically 2 own goals and won 5-2. They weren't 5-2 better than West Ham. They weren't 1-0 better than Nottingham Forest. They weren't 3-0 better than Brighton. They weren't 1-0 better than Sunderland. And that's interesting, I think, at the minute for Liverpool, because they are not passing the eyeball test. They're not playing particularly well, and no individual is particularly excelling, and yet they're winning. Is that good coaching? Is that good organisation? Is that confidence? It's great questions, and we're kind of finding out together. I think it's probably a combination of some of those things. Salah's playing really poorly. 𝐿𝐭𝐤 is struggling. 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐽 had sort of a good game against West Ham, but not really. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka's awful defending was a significant part of it. McAllister scored that winner against Forest, but was he particularly good? I don't know. I think Van Dijk's playing well. I think we're seeing the best form that Virgil van Dijk has put on this season. I think that's maybe made a difference defensively. But loads of doubts about Liverpool, no one playing particularly well. And your point on Wolves is well taken. 2 wins this season, well deserved to win against Aston Villa, as they did against West Ham previously. Deserved their draw against Arsenal, I think, and deserved the point at Forest for a rearguard action where the goalkeeper was phenomenal, 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜, on the day. So they're obviously going down. They're no longer going to be the worst team in Premier League history. Derby retain that record. I think they'll probably finish on around 20, 25 points. They'll still finish bottom, I think. But there's been some positive signs under Rob Edwards, from Mane to 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐽 up front, and 1 or 2 others have played well. There's a good balance. There's a good organisation. They're competitive, and they'll give Liverpool a game. So that makes this tricky, because Liverpool up and down straight win isn't particularly good at 1.54. Obviously, it's the top tip, and obviously you want to put that into your ACCA if you're doing one. Struggling to see at the moment many Wolves goals, despite recent decent results. Not a great deal of creativity or quality moving forward. Didn't score against Palace, didn't score against Forest, only won against 𝐵𝗵𝐺𝐵. I still feel like Liverpool win to 0 at 2.63 is a decent bet. If you're looking to make some money here, you've got to go handicap. Liverpool did score 5 at the weekend. I know it was a bit undeserved, but they did. So minus 2.5 handicap for Liverpool is the first decent bet at 3.75. And I also like this one. Wouldn't be surprised to see Wolverhampton Wanderers win a half here. We have seen that they are more than capable of bloodying a nose. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wolves win the first half and Liverpool go on to win the game. Wolves to win either half is 3.25. So a few nice bets in there.
All right, Liverpool to win and both teams to score again for 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐽. First half draw, another option here, and Rafik is going for the opposite, for double chance for Wolves. Although, well, if Liverpool want to play Champions League, they should win here. They are now 5th, only 3 points away from Aston Villa, from Man United. 3 consecutive wins and ready for the Champions League. And, of course, at the weekend, FA Cup, another appointment with Wolves. For Wednesday, we have the clash for the Champions League, Aston Villa, Chelsea. We all think it's going to be between these 2 teams, the last spot to go to the Champions League, with Aston Villa dropping in the table. Perhaps the season is getting too long and we are only in March for Aston Villa. Lost to Wolves, drew with Leeds, 2 games that they should have won if they want to play Champions League football. Yeah. Next season is only 1 win in the last 5 Premier League games, and Chelsea kind of the same. They are struggling at the moment. We never liked Robert Sanchez, and he was also in the spotlight against Arsenal. But another point, Tom, is that it's much more difficult winning games when you have a player sent off in every game. This is a big problem for Chelsea.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous, right? 7 different Chelsea players sent off in the Premier League this season. Other Reds in other competitions. The previous manager was sent off. It's been a farce for Chelsea. And it will cost you in the end. You can get through 1 or 2 games with 10 men, but I think that's like a quarter of their season. They've finished the game without a full complement. And it's a huge problem. I mean, look, let's start with Aston Villa, the home team. You mentioned it there. They've run out of steam. They have run out of steam. And it's an unfair comparison, but it's an apt one. In that if we think about a team like Real Madrid, for example, you think about Man City, who have gone on to win things in recent years and historically, they come to their peak from March to May. That's when it really matters. You, of course, need to be in the mix anyway, but March to May. Players maybe go on a bit of a holiday in February. They don't play. They have a little bit of a break. They get everyone fine-tuned and ready for a run where you're going to need to play every minute of every game to win something. And Villa have just sort of crumbled in that the squad was not particularly big. They've got no money to invest in January, and we saw that with the window that was. And now you're suddenly asking Morgan Rogers to keep on scoring pingers from outside the penalty area, which, you know, you can't run out 𝑋𝐺, outrun it. How many times have we seen that this season? Watkins has run dry. You're asking Leon Bailey to do it in the Premier League. He's not good enough for this division. You're asking Ross Barkley to fill for Youri Tielemans. You're asking Douglas Luiz to fill for Boubacar Kamara. On and on and on. There's there's replacements that are significant downgrades. And then that means there's no bench now for the manager to call on. And that's what's led to all these problems. I thought the Wolves' performance last Friday was one of the worst performances by any team in any game this season. It was dreadful. And on top of that, awful in the game against Newcastle in the FA Cup, struggled against Leeds United and should have been beaten there. The whole run has been quite bad. They're still a good team. They still have a great coach. There's still every chance of a strong end to this season. But I do think if they lose this game, the full focus needs to be on Europe and not the Premier League. But we'll see how that plays out. In terms of Chelsea, away from the 10-men conversation, there's a conceding crap goals conversation to be had. 1 against Wolves, 2 against West Ham, 2 against Chelsea, 1 against Burnley, 2 against Arsenal. Can't keep a clean sheet. Goalkeeper, I'm sorry, some people have come around on Robert Sanchez. I just don't see it, frankly. I think he makes too many mistakes. Back line, doesn't matter who they put together. No one is of sufficient quality. Is it Fofana and 𝐻𝐵𝗵? Okay. Is it Tosin? Okay. 𝐿𝐿 means probably Gusto out of position at fullback. That's not great. Caicedo, I don't think, has been at his imperious best in recent weeks. Beyond 𝐵𝗵𝗵, no one really is at their best at the moment for Chelsea. And I wonder how 𝐿𝐿𝐵𝗵𝗀 copes with that. I wonder how the players respond to that. And I wonder if they've got a good enough squad to go to the end. But look, your point is the right one. These two teams battling for 5th, I think the rest of it will probably take care of itself. To pick a winner here is difficult, so I'm going to go for a draw. 3.74 and sit firmly on the fence. What I do think is it'll be a tight game and both teams will score. So draw means 1-1, which comes in at 7. Both teams to score on its own is 1.53. You pick your winner. Both are conceding goals. Both aren't scoring a great deal. 2-1 either way. 2-1 to the home team is 9.5. 2-1 to the away team is 9. Under 3.5 goals in this game. Pick your winner. I would probably just say a draw, but if I was to pick a winner, I might just shade for Villa.
Well, Jack, Chelsea fan, also tired of watching his team, screams draw. Rafiki also screams draw. Do you think in these games Rossinior has brought something else to the team, an improvement?
I do think he has, in some games, shown that he can make better subs and make better in-game tactical tweaks than we saw from Enzo Maresca. The Napoli game and the West Ham game are the best examples of it, but he has done it in other games. I think in other matches he hasn't, but that's what you get with an experienced manager. Maybe those earlier games were more luck than judgment. But look, he's a young manager, and young managers without experience are going to make the kind of mistakes that young managers who are inexperienced make. That's what Chelsea have asked for. That's what he is going to bring. If they kept 𝐿𝐿𝐵𝗵𝗀 for 5 years, Arteta style, do I think they could challenge for the title? Yeah, I do. Is he going to get that? No.
No, very difficult. But I like he enjoys his pint of beer after the game. This is what you should
That's
do.
what English people do. That was the most endearing thing that he did. You're not used to seeing English managers because we don't have any. That's what they do. Have a nice pint after the game.
Exactly. And people were criticizing him because of that. Why? Is what you have to do.
Oh, you should have a red wine like an Italian. Sort of.
A good pint of beer. Well, Brighton Arsenal is the next one. Let's see if Arsenal are getting the 3 points here. As, for instance, a couple of weeks they drop points with Wolves. But, well, unimpressive, boring. Someone is saying, no, the worst team to win the Premier League. I don't think this is perhaps too far. But, of course, it's boring to watch, is what it is. Yeah. But they are winning, and this is what it matters. Also, in football, set pieces, corners, Sullivan, Timber in this case, with Raya making really good saves. And now they have to go to Brighton. We thought their season was over, but they won the last 2 games against Nottingham Forest and Brentford, so perhaps they can put a fight here.
Yeah, 2 really good wins for Brighton. I think the performance against Forest wasn't great at the weekend, but I was very impressed with the win over Brentford previously. I expect them to win a couple more games towards the end of the season. Brighton finish around 11th or 12th and then say goodbye to Fabian 𝗛𝗏 because, I mean, it's not amazing football. I think they're in a bit of a crossroads moment, Brighton. They do need some investment in certain positions. You can't keep relying on 35-year-old Danny Welbeck. Though he is signing a contract extension. James Milner's 40 in central midfield. They just don't have a deep enough squad. They've sold too many players. And I wonder about sales this summer as well. Like, is there a £100 million player in this Brighton squad right now? Is there a £50 million player? I'm not sure there is, including Carlos Baleba, who's been pretty poor this season. Maybe Yasin Ayari, but if they can't do the big sale this summer, which I don't think they can, how much investment possibility is there for Brighton, who are a player trading business? And that's going to be a fascinating thing about the summer. But the team currently is perfectly effective, and they're going to get enough points to finish comfortable this season, if unspectacular. For Arsenal, like, the point you make is the right one, okay? Like, are they going to be champions that neutrals remember well? And no, they're not. They're just not. They don't play amazing football. They play well within themselves, but they are very, very good. And I think that's the thing. Are they the worst champions? Of course not. This might be the best organized and the most driven team that we have seen if they go on to be champions that are champions. They're very impressive in that way. The trouble is, if you're not an Arsenal fan, you kind of get the league leaders rammed down your throat a bit because they're always on TV and that's the one you sort of watch. And if you don't care about Arsenal, which I don't, and I have to watch it, and, you know, fans out there have to watch it, they're like, oh, this is so awful. Like what they have brought in terms of culture as well at corners, which is now replicated across the league because everyone copies the leaders, it's terrible to watch. Like it's the Royal Rumble, it's rugby. There's 10 fouls in every penalty area, and they get away with a lot. Not always, but I don't know. I just think when you've got this sort of squad, this sort of quality, this sort of expenditure, we expect really good football. But maybe we've been treated too much by Man City and Liverpool and Man United and other teams over the years. And even the great Arsenal teams of 20 years ago, maybe we've been treated too much, and that's it. But look, you know how this goes. You've seen Arsenal games. It's going to be pretty ugly, pretty effective, a lot of work in the channels, a lot of rough housing at corners, and Arsenal go on to win the game. 1.69 for an Arsenal victory. As came in at the weekend, I'd go for it again. Arsenal win by exactly 1 goal, 3.5. Arsenal win and the under. Not seeing many goals in Brighton right now. Arsenal under 2.5 goals in the match, 3.75. Arsenal win to 0, 2.75. You're getting my theme here. Arsenal will win. It's going to be pretty ugly. They're going to score from a corner. And once they get the first, they're not going to go looking for the second.
Well, it's been a while, actually, with Arsenal keeping a clean sheet. That's why Rafik is going for both teams to score. Here, David also 1-2 or 1-3. Arsenal win 2-0, but this could be risky. 𝐿𝐵𝗿𝗄 is saying at the beginning of the season it was working. It is not anymore. 22 goals conceded. Imagine that Man City have conceded only 3 more, and we thought they were leaky compared to Arsenal, but this has changed. Let's see if they can win at the 𝐿𝐵𝗿𝗄 Stadium, but indeed no one would remember this Arsenal team unless you are a Gunner fan, of course, and you win the Premier League. Next game, Fulham West Ham, key game this one for West Ham. I would say almost a must win after the recent results, the defeat at Anfield and the disappointments at home with Bournemouth or Man United. Away from home is 3 wins. They would be outside the relegation spots, actually, with the away form. And Fulham won the last 2 games against Tottenham and Sunderland, but it's time, Tom, to get another win for West Ham to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Man City next. They've still got Villa and Arsenal to play. The games are running out. We're into the final 10, and West Ham don't have enough points. It's as simple as that. And has there been an upturn in form in recent weeks? Yeah, there has. They were good against United, good against Burnley, good against Bournemouth, but only 5 points when it should have been 9. And that leads to a game against Liverpool at the weekend where they were the better team in spells, created good chances, scored a couple of goals at Anfield, but they fell back into bad habits last weekend in that they're conceding corners. Under Graham Potter, the reason they're in this mess, because Graham Potter is such an incompetent idiot, and in those opening weeks of the season, they were conceding corners over and over and over and over again. And they got better. They're now at the kind of league average when it comes to conceding corners, but 3 in 1 game is catastrophic. 3 in 1 half is just nearly a sackable offence, frankly, for some of these players and the manager who has at times got a tune out of this team and at times hasn't. But he is at the moment, but they have to win this game. They have to be competitive from the start. They have to not make mistakes in the way they have in recent weeks. I think having no Pablo has been a problem for them because Pablo and Tati Castellanos up front were forming a good partnership. I'm fascinated to see if Callum Wilson gets the nod here as opposed to Magassa in midfield, who doesn't really bring very much, because they need a bit more goal-scoring threat. They've got to go out and win a game of football. A 1-1 draw is not good enough here. A 0-0 draw is not good enough here. And maybe that plays into Fulham's hands. I mean, Fulham will be miffed from the weekend. Not that they won against Tottenham, obviously, but the fact they didn't win it comfortably. They created so many chances and were so much better than Tottenham. To be sort of holding on at the end of the game was a surprise, I think, for anyone who watched the first half. But Alex Iwobi was great. Oscar Bob was great. Jimenez was great. Diop, former West Ham player, was great. Lots of great performances. My only doubt about Fulham winning this game is that whenever things start opening up for Fulham, they lose. And that's been the story of Fulham all season. They go on a run of wins and a run of losses. And beat Sunderland, really good in that game. Beat Tottenham, really good in that game. They go into this game, as I would say, significant favourites to beat West Ham. And I wobble. I wobble on them for that reason. They're an inconsistent team, and they are a beatable team. You can score goals against them. Everyone has scored against them in the last three: Stoke, Sunderland, and Tottenham Hotspur. And West Ham do score goals. So I think it'll be quite tight. I think West Ham have a decent record at Fulham, as Fulham have a good record at West Ham. And look, if I was to look at these two teams on paper, I would say they're near identical in terms of quality. From Smith Rowe into Fernandes, Souček into Sander Berge, Disasi and Diop. I'm not seeing much improvement either way. I would say the two outstanding players on the field are likely Bowen and Somerville, but can West Ham get enough from those two players and rely on the rubbish behind them to get them a win? If they don't win this game, I just can't see a pathway for West Ham staying in the league. I just cannot see it. With Man City to come, they could be, again, 6 or 7 points adrift with 9 to go. I just don't think you stay up from there. I don't think they stay up anyway, but they have to win a game like this to stand a chance. I don't think they will. So I take Fulham to win at 2. They've won 3 in a row. Why not make it 4 or 2.11 now? I do think both teams will score for reasons I've mentioned. Both are sloppy at the back and are able to score. So Fulham and both teams to score is 3.75. If you're going for a Fulham win, again, both teams to score, 2-1 the most likely outcome. If you bung 3-1 and 4-1 on top of that, West Ham just conceded 5. That comes in at 5. I also wouldn't discount the draw. 0-0 or 1-1 together will come in at 5. It won't be 2-2. So, I think a tight Fulham victory and West Ham are down.
All right, 𝐿𝐴 sees also Fulham to win and both teams to score. 2-1, 𝗵𝗲, Fulham to win. Captain Lager, if Harry Wilson is fit to play, Fulham win. Otherwise, draw is also possible. 𝐿𝐴, David 𝑋2, and both teams to score. You know, Tom, Paquetá went to Flamengo. Felipe Luis sacked. Fulkrug went to Milan, and he's been rubbish at Milan. So, of course, some problems also with the recruiting of West Ham with these big players that weren't working in East London. West Ham to score in the second half. Bang. Well, key game, this one. For West Ham, next one is Man City. Forest. Man City keep winning and winning, putting pressure on Arsenal. Also, unimpressive. This time 1-0 at Elland Road. Semenyo scoring. They also struggle with Newcastle, but they won. They are going to be in the quarterfinals of the Champions League because they are playing Real Madrid. So the season is going and going, and they are fighting for all the titles. They are super favorites here with Forest still in danger. Not sure if Vitor Pereira has improved. The team defeat against Brighton, against Fenerbahce, they suffer despite winning the first leg in Turkey and still winless in the Premier League. This manager.
Look, I just think that Vitor Pereira, if he loses this game, I wouldn't be surprised to see him sacked, frankly, and someone else come in. Let's start with Forest because we just came off the back of West Ham, and watching them, they were so bad against Brighton. They created so little against Brighton beyond that fantastic strike from Morgan Gibbs-White. And they just look like a team. This is so cliche, I know, but it looks like a team who don't know what they're doing because they've been given so many different instructions this season. Like a Vitor Pereira team is more like a Sean Dyche team than a Postecoglou team is like a Nuno team. However, all those managers have been in charge with their coaching staff this season. Was the Sean Dyche way of playing watchable? Not really. Would they have stayed in the league? Yeah, I think so. Do I think they'll stay in the league still? Yeah, probably, but less now than I did a few weeks ago. Vitor Pereira has been in charge of 12 Premier League games this season, 10 for Wolves and Forest for 2, and he's won none of them. Like, that's an appalling record for Vitor Pereira. And some of these guys might be looking at him going, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to be doing? They had no plan of attack against Brighton at all a couple of days ago. It's horrendous going forward for them. And 𝗀𝗏 and Hudson-Odoi have just not done it. Beyond Gibbs-White, no one's doing it offensively for Forest and defensively too. The way they got turned for the Welbeck goal, Siles has come back in. Is he better than Ortega who's now gone out? I don't think so. Beyond Williams, no one's really having a great season defensively. I mean, I don't know. I still think West Ham will go down because they don't show me they can win games. But if West Ham did win against Fulham and Forest lost this, obviously they'd be in the bottom 3, Forest. And then from that point, they're up against Fulham. The fixtures flip after the FA Cup. And I'm struggling to see it at the moment. I'm struggling to see many wins in this Nottingham Forest team. And I don't know what Vitor Pereira has brought that Sean Dyche wasn't already bringing. So I don't know. I think the odds have it at like 65 West Ham and 25% Forest and a little smattering for the others. After this round, if it doesn't go their way, I might be looking at more of a 50-50 split between those two. We'll see how it plays out. Don't see him winning here. I think City have just got into a really strong gear in recent weeks. And you can sort of see in that they aren't playing sort of well, if you like. They're not playing amazing football. This is not a vintage Man City by any stretch. But you saw in the celebrations after Newcastle, you saw in the celebrations after Leeds United, they're grinding. They're grinding victories. They're so tough to score against. They are able to nick goals at any moment. They can make a change quality for quality that no one else can do. Are 𝐬𝐿 struggling? I'll bring on Ryan 𝗀𝐿𝐿. 𝗀𝐿𝐿 struggling? Bring on Phil Foden. Oh, we can't play Erling Haaland? No matter. Here's 𝗀𝗏𝗏. That's the squad they have. Is it unfair? Absolutely. Should it be allowed? Absolutely not. But we are where we are. And Marc Guéhi's come in alongside Ruben Dias and looks like the best centre-half they've had maybe ever. Maybe since Company. I don't know. You know, we could have that conversation. But he looks great is the point. And they win here. Man City win, obviously, at 1.43. You've got to take that. Struggling to see a Forest goal. Like, who is going to score for them and how they're going to get it? City win to 0 at 2.38. W money for 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0. And 𝐬𝐿𝐿 has been fantastic since coming in. He'll be up top with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and probably 𝗀𝐿𝐿 if there's no Haaland. Anytime for him at 3.28. You've got to look at that because he's been fantastic.
They are going to destroy Real Madrid in 1 week time, Tom.
Yeah.
It's going to be really big, in my opinion. City to win 2-0. 𝐿𝐿𝐿, Man City and over 2.5 goals. 𝐬𝐿𝐿 to score. Man City handicap -3. Wow.
Whoa,
this is a safe bet.
Man.
That's a lot. That's a lot, especially because Man City are not thrashing any team or have not thrashed any team this season. But
it's not been a season for handicaps. It just hasn't been.
But it's a good safe bet, indeed, going for Man City straight win. Next one is Newcastle Man United, another team, Newcastle, that the season has been very long, especially in the Premier League. Is 5 defeats in the last 6 Premier League games. I guess also they are not going to care about these games since they are facing once again Man City in the FA Cup. How many times we've seen Man City Newcastle this season? And they have Barcelona, remember, in the Champions League. So I guess the energy is going to go to these games, especially the Champions League one. And well, this Man United, Tom, it looks like they are going to listen Champions League music next season. 6 wins and 1 draw in the last Premier League games. And I'm also enjoying seeing 𝐿𝐴𝐶𝐿 scoring beautiful goals as a classic number 9. I like classic number 9s, Tom. We had 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏 at the beginning of the season, but it's not working anymore. Yeah. But these big guys scoring headers like the Slovenian did is good to see.
Yeah, and Eddie Howe seems to think 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a central midfielder now. So maybe we don't see that ever again. I don't know. I mean, it's bottom of the form guide across the last 5 against top of the form guide in the last 5. And so I think you've got to look for the Man United win here. But the Newcastle conversation is an interesting one. In the 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 has gone off the boil massively. He's unhappy there by many accounts. And if you look at the team that's going to play in this game, I think maybe only Ramsey and 𝐻𝐿 are going to be of the summer intake, if you like. 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 has been a massive flop, a monumental flop. I know he was injured and it's a bit unfair, but you can only judge on what there's been. And for £60 million, he's done nothing. Alanga, £60 million, done nothing. 𝗀𝗲𝗏𝗀 did fine at the start, fallen off a cliff. So that's £180 million worth of investment. And if they could get their money back on all of them, would they do it? Yeah, I think they would. And that tells you quite a lot, I think, for Newcastle. The recruitment, which Eddie Howe is a part of, but not the only part of, wasn't good enough in the summer. And that leads them to a position where I think Champions League qualification is all but impossible for them at this point. I think a run for the Conference League or Europa League qualification spots will be welcome. Would it be enough for Newcastle? I'm not so sure. But the form has been poor. Defending been awful. Nick Pope in goal, really struggling. I'm surprised that Ramsdale's not getting a run now. Like, Nick Pope has not had a good season in goal for Newcastle. And I'm not saying Ramsdale is the saviour, but I think maybe that might be worth trying. Losing Bruno 𝗵𝗵𝗄, obviously catastrophic. We're not going to see him for at least another month. He's the best player at the club. He's the top scorer. He's the captain. To lose him, I know Tonali is performing admirably in his role, but Bruno 𝗵𝗵𝗄 is maybe the best midfielder in that role in the league. So to not have him, and his leadership has been difficult. And I think Anthony Gordon had a shocker against Everton, having been previously pretty good at centre-half recently. So loads of concern there for Eddie Howe. For Man United, no concerns. Like, they're playing in a pressure-free environment, Manchester United, in that they'd been knocked out of every competition before Michael Carrick's arrival. And that sort of led to a week of training, time to rest people like Casemiro, a bit of freedom from the nonsense of whatever Ruben Amorim was doing. I won't be the first to say it, but they're playing players in their proper positions. Bruno Fernandes, I thought, was spectacular against Crystal Palace at the weekend. He was incredible. Scored the penalty, did the cross for 𝐶𝐿, ran the game, because he's maybe the best number 10 in the league. The trouble is, we haven't seen it for 2 years. So it's fantastic to see that. And Benjamin 𝐶𝐿, you mentioned it, that header. Oh, absolutely incredible. The kind of goal that fans love to see, right? I love to see that. I can watch it again and again and again. You add that to the other types he's got goals he scored, the 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper at Everton, the little lob against West Ham. Fantastic right now. He has been rejuvenated. I still don't know if he's an £80 million striker, but he's certainly the best striker on form currently in the Premier League. So the form guide tells you only do one thing here, and that is the Manchester United win. I think you have to at 2.67 as well. That's an insane bet, just under 2-1. I would lump on that big, frankly, if I was betting my own money, which I am on this game. I do think there are goals in it for both teams. They're still a bit leaky defensively, United. I think it'll probably be 𝐸𝐴DEN potentially playing. I've heard this morning that Harry Maguire is not very well, so it could be 𝐸𝐴DEN and 𝐬𝐿. That's not as good as Martinez and Maguire. So I do think they'll concede, but I think Man United win it. Both teams to score is a really healthy 4, and he's on goal-scoring form. Put him in again. Benjamin 𝐶𝐿, anytime. It keeps coming in, so do it again.
I'm really surprised to see Newcastle favorite. The odds are very level.
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty much the same.
It's
Newcastle are Man United, but Newcastle are slightly favorites. Man United, great value, is one of the value bets of the weekend. Indeed, 𝗀𝗏𝗏, anytime goal scorer. I also like first half draw or 𝐶𝐿. But yeah, go for Man United, or even Asian handicap 0 for Man United in case there is a draw and you have a really good bet. And for Monday, we have a horror movie at Tottenham Palace, a scary movie. We weren't sure, or we were sure that the appointment of Igor Tudor was a mistake. And after 10 days, Tom, we already know it was a mistake. He's complaining. He's not happy with the players. No one is happy with Igor Tudor. 2 very ugly defeats against Fulham, against Arsenal. They are very close to relegation, only 4 points away. So I couldn't be surprised if Tudor is sacked, if Tottenham lose this game against Crystal Palace. Tom, what do you think?
I don't know what to think anymore, honestly. My gut reaction is no.
Weird. It was so weird seeing Tudor here.
What is he doing here? What is he doing here? Just an insane hire. Like, Tottenham are going to stay up, okay? I'm going to say that to you now. It's Forest or West Ham for that 18th spot, and I still think it'll be West Ham as things stand, right? And I've said that for a few weeks. However, they are so bad. This Tottenham team are so bad, jaw-droppingly bad. And was it going well under Thomas Frank? No, it wasn't. but they'd be doing better than this. They brought in 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, who within minutes has been like, what am I doing here? The injury list is catastrophic, and we haven't spoken about that enough, any of us, this season. With Davis, 𝗀𝗏𝗏, Spence, 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝘀, Maddison, Bergvall, Bentancur, Kudus, 𝗲𝗏𝗿𝗲. That's a huge list of players being out, and that's before any problems they may have picked up in the Fulham game at the weekend. That all being said, 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 coming in and just trying to put his formation in. 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, 2 up front when they haven't done that all season. That's weird. That's a weird thing to have done. He hasn't got the players for it. Dragusin's playing every game. Horrendous footballer. He's put Palhinha in the back 3 at points. Archie Gray at fullback. What's happening here? Conor Gallagher's on the right wing when they went to 4-4-2 at times. What's happening here? Again, why'd they buy Conor Gallagher? That didn't make sense at the time. It don't make sense now. And going forward, Solanke back from injury. Colin Moani had a couple of decent moments against Arsenal, but of course they lost that game heavily. I don't know. I don't know why he's been brought in. I don't know what he brings to the team. It's evident a lot of the players aren't having him, including Mickey van der Ven. That the feeling around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is going to be horrendous. And if Palace score the first goal in this game, all bets are off. All bets are off. The good news for Tottenham is that this Palace team come at a moment of kind of acute issue in that they've obviously lost a bunch of really important players, including Mark Gay. 𝗀𝗏𝗏 got himself sent off at the weekend against Man United. Not quite sure what all the furore is about that. It's a sending off. Is it a bit of a dive? Yeah, but it's a sending off. That's the way it goes. He did pull his shirt. Not much. All right, fine. But it's a foul and it's a red. But that's the way it goes. Annoying night that might be. So the back line's got a few issues. Big night for Chris Richards, this, I would say, in centre-half now as the lead centre-half as opposed to the junior of the 3. I think that going forward, it's a big night for Brennan Johnson back at Tottenham, having just left the club. Strand-Larsen, Sarr and Johnson. Does that trio work? We're finding out in real time. They've had some flashes in some games, but also haven't been incredible. Did they deserve to lose against Man United at the weekend? No, I don't think so. Similar performance to what they did at Old Trafford, and Crystal Palace will win this game. First goal going to be crucial. If Crystal Palace do get it, I think it's over for Tottenham. Winless in 10, could well become winless in 11. Palace away from home, they've not been their best this season, but they've certainly been very effective. 6 away wins is not a bad record at all. So you just can't bet on Tottenham. Do I think Tottenham are going to win this game? Probably. Would I put a single penny of my own money on it? No. So the Palace win at double your money. If you're taking a punt, you've got to go for it at 3.25. I think it'll be tight and ugly. Under 2.5 goals in this match is 1.91. You add that to the Palace win. It's a really, really good bet. If you're going to bet on Tottenham, you might be mad. I'm not saying they won't win this, but you can't put money on it.
So, but Spurs playing Atlético de Madrid in the Champions League.
Probably win that.
Week. I don't think so. Crystal Palace to score first. Tabang, boring game, draw. 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐶𝐞𝐜, you should be apologizing to Ange. Don't go this far, 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐶𝐞𝐜. Under 3.5 goals for Rafiki. Tottenham losing 2-0 with Crystal Palace. Well, let's see. This is Premier League. Then we have FA Cup weekend, and then we have the Champions League with Tottenham. For instance, as I said, playing Atlético de Madrid. We have 3 Spanish-English clashes in this Champions League last 16 round. Newcastle, Barcelona, and Man City, Real Madrid. Well, this is it in Matchday 29 Premier League. Thank you, guys. Tom, remember, we are in March now already. This is March, so another chance to win money thanks to the Oddspedia tipster competitions. There you go. This is the Premier League one. And then we have a new one for March with a Brazilian guy on top. And then we have also rivals. Check out the competitions that are open, or you can create your own one. There you go. Safe bet.
Yes, a few that we could have gone with here, but I'm taking Man City to win at home against Nottingham Forest at 1.43.
And your 𝐿𝐴𝐴?
Cheeky little treble here. Leeds United will beat Sunderland at home. Man City will beat Nottingham Forest. And Arsenal go to Brighton and win a really healthy 4.21.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye.